Happy Sunday, everybody. The final Sunday in quite a while without NFL football, but we are the Major League Baseball show. First pitch here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. I am Matt Josephs of SportsMemo.com, Tony Finn, Brian Leonard, Dave Koken, all of WagerTalk.com. We'll get to the stuff coming up momentarily, but a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We'll start with you, Dave.
I only made one bet, which I kind of regret because there were a couple others I missed out on. But I did play the Oakland A's. They were easy winners, so I'm never going to bitch about a 1-0 day.
There you go. And also you gave out that nice lean on Army yesterday on the show, and they won rather easily.
I think Army first quarter is what I regret not betting because the Middle Tennessee was going to be – they never did adjust, but figured it'd be really tough against an option team the first time down the field, and it was. Don't know that I necessarily feel the same way about Navy and BYU. BYU has seen the option, and obviously they have more talent. But it's something to bear in mind for tomorrow. And based on what we saw yesterday with an option offense against you can call them a rusty defense at best, that Navy line moved this morning.
Yeah, that's for sure. Tony, how was your Saturday?
My Saturday I thought was going to be a 2-0 day, but it ended up being a 1-1 day. 3 runs and a bullpen got me, the Houston bullpen. I went ahead and played the second game. I really liked the second game, and it's the first time I've played the second game of a doubleheader. We've talked about that here on this show. All of us agree it's probably not a smart thing to do, and I went ahead and provided evidence of such. And I had a lead, and those things happen. Listen, I've won a couple games this year because of bad bullpens that I played against. So yesterday was a 1-1 day. I'll take that. As a loser, if that's the worst it gets, I'll take it.
And you, Brian, how was your Saturday?
That was a good Saturday. Could have been better. I went 1-0-1. Had Seattle in baseball. I also had the Baltimore Orioles in the first 5. They plus 190, 200, and it's 0-0. And they score 5 runs in the 6th. Unfortunately, I can't bet the 6-run line. And the people who played it for the entire game had a nice payoff, but it's a little frustrating. I didn't want to battle the bullpens, but that was one game where I should have gone full game.
Yeah, see, Brian, I have to disagree slightly with you. I had the first 5 under, so I was kind of glad those runs came after the first 5 under. But, yeah, it was good to see Garrett Cole back, at least for those 5 innings. And, of course, day 3 of college football, and I already hate college kickers, so that was fun yesterday. But this is the baseball show, and we've got a lot of games coming up at the top of the hour, so we start things off with our big 3. And, by the way, before we get to Phillies Mets, scrolling across the bottom, final day, 30 days all access with your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper, $199. The regular price is $349. NFL coming up this week. You've got baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey, all sorts of stuff. Tiddlywinks. I'm sure you can bet on that as well. Go to Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Final day for 30 days, all access for $199. Great pitching matchup here. Phillies and Mets. Nola and DeGrom. No JT Realmuto for the Phillies this afternoon. Bryce Harper also slumping right now. Dave, we'll start with you in this ace pitching matchup.
Well, it's DeGrom on the mound, which means the Mets are probably not going to score any runs. Or they'll make an error behind him. It's just amazing how well this guy pitches, and he is the absolute leader in the clubhouse once again for games that he should have won and didn't get wins in. But the fact remains, his numbers are absurd. By the way, first time through the lineup, batting average 121 and an OPS of 328, which is it's mind-boggling. So as Nola's a good pitcher, but he's not in this level. And there's been some home road dichotomy for him this year. He has not pitched as well on the road. I can't lay a price with the Mets, though. I just can't do it because they seem to play their worst baseball when DeGrom's on the mound. And, it's just one of those situations where I can't figure out how to win with the guy. I'm not going to go against him, but he doesn't make you money betting on him. So what do you end up doing? If I got to play, I guess I'll play the Mets and maybe hope for a first 5 under, but I got to find something stronger than this.
What did you price it, by the way?
About 150, 153, I think.
Brian, this is the first non-Marlins start for DeGrom in quite a while. He faced him 4 straight times, which is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, you never see that. DeGrom's done very well against Philly, as you would expect. His last 3 starts against Philadelphia, game score 78, 80, and 70. League average is 50, so he's been tremendous against Philadelphia as of late. But Dave's right. This is a guy who never seems to get any type of support from his teammates' bats. I made the line exactly what the line is, so I don't have any value here. So I'll be sitting this one out.
Tony, road Aaron Nola is 1 run worse in his career. 4.04 ERA on the road in his career, 2.94 at home. How much does that factor into this game?
Well, he doesn't have a career history and that kind of dichotomy. It matters today, or it's mattered this year. So I think you have to be conscious of it at least. But I'm like Dave. Listen, I agree with everything Dave said. I happened to be speaking with a friend of mine this morning, Dave, and we were talking about the difference between pitchers in Major League Baseball. A lot of times it's just all in the head, save guys like DeGrom, who are elite, who are just that effing good. And Dave's accurate. He's that good and tough to play unless you know the Mets are going to score and you have some faith in
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They're 33 and 38 in his last 71 starts.
Yes. Yeah. And he's never been an underdog. I don't think. He may have been on who he's playing, but I don't think he's ever been an underdog. So, his last game, he threw 104 pitches, guys. 104 pitches. Here's how ridiculous it is. 23 swings and misses in 104. That's ridiculous in this day and age. So, of course, I didn't play anything in this game. If I was going to play, I would be on DeGrom, and I'm not on lay that price. As Dave said, I passed.
By the way, Ortiz is the home plate umpire. There are some 7.5s now popping up, but how much does Ortiz factor here?
Ortiz, if he's good, he's going to favor pitchers. If he decides to have a bad day, he's a neutral guy with me, and I wouldn't use him as a large variable in a total. That's just me.
Matthew, I see your question for Dave, and we'll get to that after we do a couple more games about setting lines for the first time. We'll get to that after we do some games here with the stuff coming up at 1 o'clock. Game number 2 here, Padres and A's, Fiers and Richards, a total of 10.5. Fiers has the lowest strikeout rate of any qualified starter in baseball. Brian, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'll say a few things before we get to Dave, because I know he's not a big Mike Fiers fan. I'd prefer the road team, San Diego, a little bit here. If you take a look at their stats for the year, they're pretty comparable. But I think Garrett Richards is the better pitcher here. Prefer that side, not likely going to bet it. But Richards has shown a little bit more. He had the one bad start hosting Seattle on the 27th, where his game score was 18. But before that, we're looking at 57, 57, 45, 63. So he's been consistently good other than that one start against Seattle. And right now, Seattle's playing some really good ball. Mike Fiers is one of those guys who gives up a ton of home runs. I mean, he's in a good ballpark, I guess. There's a lot of foul ball territory in Oakland, so that may help him a little bit. He's only given up 7 in 37 innings this year, as opposed to just a couple of years ago, 32 and 172. It's hard to back a team where your pitcher is giving up, basically 2 home runs a game. Tough to lay favorites in that regard. So slight edge here with the road team for myself.
Dave, with the Padres bullpen issues, is this the first 5 innings on San Diego today?
No, the Padres bullpen issues are kind of fixing themselves. They picked up a couple of guys, and that seems to help. Fiers, though, I mean, I don't like the guy, but his numbers are his numbers. 175, this is the first time through the order this season, 175 with an OPS of 500. So he's getting people out, and that's all that matters. Richards is the confusing issue here. He was really bad in 2 prior starts where he threw like 60 pitches in the first 2 innings. They had to take him out of one game, and then he got bombed in the first inning of the next game. And then he comes out last time, and he pitched brilliantly. So they, I guess, found something in his mechanics. There had been some conversation that he was doing something wrong, and seemed to fix it. Well, I don't know what to make of him. It becomes at this point a game where I better stay away from that, because I don't like the one pitcher who I think his numbers are phony, even though I can't argue with the actual numbers. And the other guy is just a model of inconsistency right now. So to me, that's the game you just run away from in a hurry. I got my win out of Oakland yesterday. I'm happy with that. I will not be playing this game.
Tony, do you share everyone's disdain for Mike Fiers?
Well, these guys are both confusing me. Mike Fiers is a guy that I think he has 2 no-hitters to his record in his career, and a guy that it's just he's not a Giolito, where Giolito has the highest ERA of any qualified pitcher one year and comes back the following year, 2 years later, throws a no-hitter. Only one of 4 guys to ever do that in the history of baseball. Fiers is a guy is Dave described him pretty well. And as far as Richards goes, those 2 starts that Dave outlined were 3 starts back, 2 starts back before last one. He didn't make it 2 innings in either one of those. And then he comes back and is great. I have to walk away. I got to walk out of that room with a pitcher like that, at least until I see something more than one good start.
Sunday Night Baseball tonight, although not the latest game, of course. There is a Dodgers game, which is afterwards. Cardinals and Cubs, Hudson and Lester. Clearly the wind blowing out. There are some 13s out there. Tony, we'll start with you.
Immediately, I'm sorry, but when I see a wind blowing out and I see a total like that at Wrigley, there's a lot of research that has to be done on my part on who I'm going to play, unless it's just automatically evident, and if I favored, I passed.
Dave, how about you?
Well, in a sense, you can make the case that this is a good thing for Dakota Hudson because he's a ground ball pitcher. And if he's got his stuff, he'll generate the ground balls, and you don't have to worry about the ball flying out of the park. Now his ground ball numbers are right there with where they've been. It's at 59% so far this season. That's what you'll want to see out of him. Let's see what John Lester is as of right now on ground ball percentage. And let me punch that up. And it is 43%. So that's an advantage for the Cardinals pitcher. What's also a bit of an advantage is the fact that Lester just isn't pitching well. And I know this guy could be a borderline Hall of Famer, but ERA over 5, and it's not phony. It's just not phony. I mean, he's just not pitching very well. I got to look at the Cardinals here.
And Brian, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. Dave touched on a couple of things I was going to. Dakota Hudson gives up about a home run every 9 innings, so basically won a game. Lester's been a guy who's given up 7 homers in 37 innings this year, and he's been homer prone. He's one of those guys that has been hit for the long ball, and if the wind is blowing out, that is a concern. Since last 3 starts, he's been excellent. 66, 58, and 70 game scores. League average is 50, so he's been very good here. Coming off the doubleheader yesterday, I like the Cardinals here. I think it's a fair number.
All right, so that's our big 3 games. Let's go start working on through at least the games going through the 1 o'clock hour, and then we'll get to Matthew's question about line setting. Yankees and Orioles, a late change with the Orioles. Kremer is the pitcher for Baltimore. Tanaka going for the Yankees. Brian, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Baltimore pitcher. I believe he's making his major league start here. He's a right-hander, which I prefer left-handers first time you see him. But yeah, it's the Yankees. Tanaka's been pretty good this year. He's one of those guys that he does give up a lot of home runs. That's a concern when you're playing in this ballpark. But you take a look at that Yankees lineup right now, and they don't have the power guys that they normally have. It's a different lineup. And especially, I want to talk a little bit about Sunday lineups overall. You see a lot of teams bringing in bench warmers to play on Sunday, so you always want to check the lineups. The lineups are huge. So I looked at the Yankees lineup. It wasn't intimidating at all. So I'm going to sit this one out. I think Baltimore may have a little bit of an advantage based on, obviously, the public perception of these 2 teams. But without knowing anything about Kremer, I'm going to sit this one out.
According to MLB.com, his best pitch is his curveball, which he throws in and outside the strike zone. His fastball sits around 92 to 94, but can occasionally get higher, and he projects out to be a four or a mid-level bullpen type guy. Dave, what do you think for this one?
He's got good strikeout numbers at A and AA. So, but you have to take those with a grain of salt. Very limited at AAA. I'm looking at the scouting report on him, and okay fastball, sliders, probably not much. Good curve, changeup, decent command. So yeah, he looks like one of those guys who might stick around for a while. We'll see. He's a Dodger prospect originally, by the way.
He came over in the Machado trade, which is nice. No Gleyber Torres. We've already talked about it. No Gary Sanchez in the lineup. That's a bad thing for the Orioles because Sanchez has been terrible. Tony, thoughts on this one?
No, there's some injuries this weekend for Baltimore as well. I believe Ursula, and there's been 3 or 4 injuries, and on both sides. If I was going to play this game, I would be on the dog even with the Orioles injuries, and I can't do it. I don't know about Melvin Kramer. I haven't seen him, and as these guys have talked about, Tanaka's had plenty of starts in his career against Baltimore and in this park. He knows how to pitch at this park, so as a pass.
By the way, how does CB Buckner fit in with a rookie?
CB Buckner's not. Listen, he's not going to show any respect to a rookie. He's old time. He's old school, and while can be a fair umpire, he's still a lean to hitters in my book.
Brewers and Indians. Bieber last time out, 4 walks, only gave up 1 hit though, no earned runs in 6 innings against the Royals. You got Anderson going for the Brewers, who's been okay. Back to you, Tony. You can take this one first.
Listen, I'm not standing in front of Bieber. Are you guys going to stand in front of him? The price is. I'm also not going to lay the number on this game, and if I was going to play this game, it would have to be an alternative line. So of course, as soon as I see the Bieber and the price, I just passed right over it.
Bieber has had 7 walks in his last 2 starts. That's, I guess, the only blemish, I would say. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Price is a little bit too high to play on Bieber here. Being an Indians fan, they don't, no matter what the lineup seems to be for Cleveland, they don't hit Brett Anderson. They're not good against lefties anyway. They're one of the 2 worst, I believe, in baseball against lefties. But going all the way back to 2010, because Anderson's floated around many teams, in his career. His game scores against Cleveland 66, 70, 76, 62, 55. You know one thing when Brett Anderson plays the Indians aren't going to hit for much. Yesterday, the game probably should have gone over. There was a lot of guys that were left on base in last night's game. I think Milwaukee left bases loaded in the 7th or 8th. But this game right here, if I'm playing this game, I'm looking for a low-scoring game. Both of these pitchers should be in good form here against the opposition. And, Bieber's never faced Milwaukee before, so Milwaukee's never seen what could be the Cy Young winner of the American League. So I'm looking for the under in this game.
Yeah, only 5 guys in Milwaukee and 27 total at-bats against Bieber. Dave, what are you thinking for this one?
Nothing. I'm not going against Bieber. And I'm not laying that price.
Nats and Braves, Corbin and Tomlin. They're saying this could be Tomlin's last start in the Atlanta rotation. We do know how well or how much the Braves have struggled against lefties. Brian, we'll start with you in this one.
Yeah, this is one I prefer the road team here. Obviously, Josh Tomlin, know him very well. He's been pretty successful in the bullpen for Atlanta, but coming out and starting game scores of 43, 36, 38 when the league average is 50 means he hasn't played very well. I do want to point out that Soto's out of the lineup for Washington today, which is why the line in this game has been bouncing back and forth. So their big power hitters out of the lineup. But Corbin's been very good. Left-handed pitcher against Atlanta, I think, does pretty well. And Corbin's had some nice success against the Braves in the past. He's a guy that doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Maybe just 1 every 9 innings, whereas you take a look at Tomlin, I've talked about this in the past, this year 4 home runs in 22 innings, last year 14 and 79, 25 and 70 in 2018, and that was the reason why he got put in the bullpen in Cleveland back when he played for the Indians, was he gave up too many home runs. And if Washington could get a couple guys on base, hit a home run, that may be all they need here. I'm in the Washington camp on this one.
Dave?
Yeah, I'd look at that side. Tomlin has pitched quite well, but I think there's an edge with the pitcher as far as the Nationals go, and I'm not really getting my money's worth on it, but I would take the Nationals in this game.
Tony?
I would go Corbin here. We know, all of us here know the struggles Atlanta's have against left-handers, and the fact is, Tomlin. I was looking at some of his peripherals, and he's topping out now. The last few games, about 89, 90. Occasionally hits 90, and he's had more balls with an exit velocity of 100 miles per hour than anybody in baseball this year. That alone is is something to this home runs. If they're fly ball, 100 miles an hour, pretty good chance that's leaving the park.
Nearly 450 people in the room. We appreciate it. This is why we do the shows on the weekend, because we know that there is a lot of people here. Make sure to smash the like button, hit the bell. You'll never miss a show, and we'll be back tomorrow, 2 o'clock. We're going to do a show tomorrow, even though it is Labor Day, because there is plenty of baseball to talk about here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. As you see scrolling on the bottom, last day for the special offer, $199 for 30 days, all access to a Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper, whether it's the four of us, whoever is your favorite. That's less than $7 a day, and it goes away at midnight tonight. Let's keep going. Marlins and Rays. Rogers making his first start against anyone but the Mets. He goes up against Tyler Glasnow of the Rays. By the way, Rogers' last start, he threw 4 breaking balls of his 89 pitches. 62 pitches were either four-seamers or sinkers, Tony.
Yes. The price on this is I looked at this. I saw Glasnow. I saw the -2 and change, and while Glasnow has made some improvements, his command he's shown a little better command recently. Guys, I can't lay this number. Even you couldn't lay this number if Brian Linder was pitching.
Brian, could you lay that number if you were pitching?
Of course I could.
Yeah.
Well, my shoulder feels today. Tampa Bay is 8-1 the last 2 years against Miami. So they've dominated this series. Dave talked about the other day they were in a bad spot coming off the Yankees, and they still got that victory. I like to look at teams in that regard, coming off a game where you don't think they're going to be up for, and they can still gain that win. Trevor Rogers, though, a left-handed starter who Tampa has not seen, and he faced, as you mentioned, Matt, he faced the Mets twice. Game scores is 61 and 52. That's pretty good against the Mets, against the left-hander. So those are pretty impressive numbers. Obviously, he hasn't given up a home run yet in 9 innings, so that could obviously change the game if he's home run prone. But it's a little bit of a live dog until you look at the lineup today for Miami. Not a big fan of the guys they've gotten in the lineup today, so I'm going to lay off. But this is normally a game where I may take a shot on Miami in the first 5 or something. But I'm not impressed with the lineup they have. They got some injuries, even though they do have some guys coming back from COVID. Some of the guys they have, terrible injury just yesterday, I believe it was. So not the guys in the lineup offensively I want it back, especially against Glasnow, who's a pretty good pitcher. So maybe the under may be the way to look at this one. I'm going to give it another look.
Dave, 7 walks in 9 innings for Rogers against the Mets.
Pass.
All right,
I'm not going to waste time on games I'm not playing, and they go in a half an hour anyway.
Excellent. And I'll look at the over for the strikeouts for Glasnow. We know Miami loves to swing and miss. So if it's like 7.5, I would look at the over there. Robbie Ray Day for the Toronto Blue Jays against the Red Sox. Triggs is the pitcher there. Ray is first and fifth with a 7.24 and a hard hit rate percent of 52%. Dave, I assume that means you're running from this game?
As far away as possible. There's a good chance I will never bet another game that Robbie Ray's involved in.
He wasn't terrible as a guy coming out of the pen against the Marlins last time out, but
that's the problem. Yeah. There is no way anybody on the planet can handicap whether Robbie Ray is going to be good or bad. So what he did last start has no meaning, and what he did 2 starts back has no meaning. The best advice I can ever give anybody as far as betting baseball is concerned is if you see Robbie Ray pitching, just get away from the game. Get away from it.
Right. He'll either do really well or really poorly. Brian, are you running from Robbie Ray?
He used to be the National League version of Boyd for Detroit, one of those guys that have a lot of talent and don't seem to put it together. Boyd a little bit younger here. But, yeah, Robbie Ray, he's given up 10 home runs in 34 innings. He gave up 30 home runs last year in only 174 innings. This guy gives up the long ball like crazy, and now he's in a division where every team in that division pretty much has the ability to put the ball in the seats. I'm not a big fan of that, bringing him along into Toronto there. I think there was other guys that they could have gotten a lot cheaper. It would have been better for this lineup. Triggs has been pretty decent as of late, but he's pitching out of the bullpen. And, 16-run ERA, small sample size, 3 innings. But he's not a very good pitcher at this point either. He hasn't started a game since 2018. So this could be a game. I'm not one of these guys that play a lot of overs because I think it hurts. You're not getting the value on the over. But that's the only way I can look at this one.
Yeah, no Hernandez, no Grichuk in the lineup for the Blue Jays there, Tony.
No, I passed on this. Triggs hasn't started since 2018, and this game was something with Robbie Ray. It was pretty easy for me to just look over a pass.
Reds and Pirates, Antone and Cool in this one. Antone getting the spot start last on the mound last weekend. Tony, back to you.
Well, I'm interested in Cool. I would like to see more Cool, and we'll get a chance to do that here. And this is another one of these games on this Sunday that presented some challenges for guys like us. Unless you know a lot about Antoine, you know a lot about some of these relievers or short guys that are going to try to go long. This was another game that I just had very little interest and very little information that I could depend on. I passed.
Dave?
I leaned Reds, but I don't want to lay that kind of a price. So it's going to be a pass for me. Antone looks like he can pitch a little bit. I think Cool is starting to regress. He really does, but he's not really a starting pitcher, okay? And this typically happens with guys who get moved out of the bullpen into the rotation, and it's like, oh, he looks like he can do a job, and then they start to show you why they got put in the bullpen in the first place. Cool came up as a starter, didn't cut the mustard, moved in the pen. He did okay there. They moved him back into a rotation spot this year on short pitch counts. So he was pitching as if he was a reliever and was doing okay, but it's going backwards on him. And the metrics just aren't good on him. So I think the Reds win this. But again, at whatever it is now, 160 or thereabouts, I'm not interested.
Brian?
I like Antone. Everything I've read about his stuff is really good. And he hasn't, he's got a 52 average game score his first two starts, 2.66 ERA in 20 innings. Obviously, that's good. But this is a guy that could end up being a third starter on this team. I think he's got some good stuff. Pittsburgh, 61 WRC plus, worst in baseball against right-handed pitchers. The Reds have got their daily lineup in there, a lot more talented than this Pittsburgh lineup. Pittsburgh just doesn't have enough good players, and the guys they have that they thought were good are having terrible years. So I think I'm not a big favorite to play in road favorites, but that would be the only way I take a look at this one.
Yeah, I'm taking a shot with the first 5 under at 5.5 in this one and hoping that Cool goes the 5 and gives up a couple, and Antone continues to do work here. We had 500 people in here briefly. That is great. We appreciate it. By the way, if you're following along or if you just joined us, we go in rotation order outside of the big 3 games. So if you're trying to follow what's coming up next or what's already been done, follow along in rotation order. All right, White Sox and Royals. Matt Harvey gets the call. They push Keller back one day. Carlos Hernandez most likely going to piggyback Harvey, who is not very good. Keuchel gets the start for the White Sox, Dave.
There was talk a couple of months ago that Matt Harvey would end up in KBO because nobody in the major leagues wanted him. That's about all I get to say about that.
Not sure KBO wants him at this point.
Yeah, he's just been horrific. No, there's just no possibility I could play the Royals. White Sox are priced high enough so that I'm not particularly interested in them as a straight bet. That would be a situation where you find somebody to pair the White Sox with in a money line parlay. That's not the worst idea in the world.
By the way, Keuchel, the first time through the order, 9 of 74 for a 122 batting average, Tony.
Yes. Keuchel's been good. In fact, if you can get through the second time through the order, he may be able to with the Royals. Harvey won't be able to get to the second time. I made a call yesterday because when they made the switch, they were going to go Keller. They decided they're going to stick with Harvey in the rotation. And my buddy, who's a beat writer for the Royals, said, "Listen, this is a matter of the Royals don't have a lot of prospects. Don't have a lot of top prospects that are ready to start being introduced to the big show. And Harvey's just eating innings. They're just trying to get through this, and Harvey's out there pitching. So if you feel like Harvey, like we do." 1.5. Sox minus 1.5. It's still $1.50. That's you got to play about $1.50 to do it, but there you go.
Brian?
Harvey's pitched 3 games for the Royals. His first start being the best. Now keep in mind this is his best. 3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 2 home runs. That was his best outing pitching for Kansas City. I looked at the line originally and I saw Chicago such a big favorite. And I thought, oh, good, they're going against the lefty. Well, no, they're going against already. And I saw that big number. Oh, good. They're going against already. I could bet against them. And then I noticed that righty was Matt Harvey. So Matt Harvey's on the mound. I'm either playing the over or I'm going against him. Not going to go against him with that number, but we could see some runs in this game. Kansas City's not doing a bad job of hitting the last 3 games, 13 runs, all against Chicago. So these have been some high-scoring games, 8, 11, 17 runs. Wouldn't surprise me if we see a lot of runs in this one.
Yeah, I like the overruns, hits, and errors here because, the White Sox have scored 4 runs or more 16 of the last 19 games, and they're actually hitting pretty well against lefties. They're hitting like 280-something against lefties, which is 4th best in baseball. Tigers and Twins, Mize and Hill. Tony, we'll start with you on this one.
Oh, by the way, no Soler, though. Bear that in mind. No Soler for the Royals, so that's significant for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony, thought?
Yeah, and the Mize and listen, Rich Hill. I think the Twins were playing the White Sox last time Hill started, and when the White Sox are facing a left-hander that's pedestrian, well, Hill's he's going to do what he does. Sometimes he's going to hit his spots, and if he hits his spots, he's tough to hit. And that day, I think Chicago had to come back. I think they had to hit a home run in extra innings. I may be wrong. Maybe it was a time they played Kansas City, but long story short is. Mize has his issues. Look at his numbers. Look at his peripherals. He may be the prospect there for the Tigers, but Hill's the veteran here. But you feel comfortable laying $2 on Hill? I passed.
By the way, Christopher is right. Out in Chicago, or excuse me, KC, the wind is blowing out 20 miles per hour if you want to take the over there.
That's
Dave,
also something that would favor Keuchel, who keeps the ball on the ground.
That's correct.
Dave, what do you think about Mize so far this year?
Look, he's got a bright future. But he's learning the ropes, and he's going against a pretty good offense here. If you want to gamble, I might take a first 5 shot on the Tigers here.
Brian?
The problem with that is Casey Mize is just throwing way too many pitches. He's trying to be too accurate. He's gone 10.2 innings. And he's already given up, thrown 67, 76, and 73 pitches in those outings. So if you're seeing guys that are throwing over 20 pitches an inning, that means they're either struggling, getting pinched by the umpire, or they're just not very good at that point. Mize has the talent to be there. Rich Hill's the guy, hats off to this guy. As many injuries as he has had,
oh boy,
he's still a competent pitcher. You take a look at his ERAs the last 3 years, he's been very good. Dave and I play a lot of fantasy baseball, and Rich Hill, the situation is when he's on the mound, you're going to get good pitching. Problem is he's rarely on the mound. I can't lay $2 here with Rich Hill. Detroit's a team that doesn't have a whole lot of talent, but they continue to play hard, like the Seattles, the San Franciscos, the Baltimores, teams that just don't have enough talent that continue to give you a game. And I wouldn't feel comfortable laying $2 against this Detroit lineup.
They hit lefties a little bit. So,
By the way, Tony, Culpa is the home plate umpire, 6 of 7 under so far this year. Does that factor in?
He's definitely the new breed, and he gives the black, or should I say, he has I think 5 to 6% of his strike calls are balls in the K zone, so he's going to be pitch friendly.
D-backs and Giants, Cueto against young Arizona. This young character has not won in 4 starts this year. Cueto pitched well against Arizona last time out. Back to you, Dave.
Arizona is, and I'll probably mention this every show that we do the rest of the way. They're under no circumstances will I bet on the Diamondbacks the rest of the season. The Diamondbacks and Rangers are 2 teams that you should avoid like the plague. I don't care what your numbers show. They don't care. Those are the 2 teams that really don't care and want to get this over with as quickly as possible. We're now into what, if this was a regular season,
September,
we would be into the September game 140 to game 162 mode.
Yes.
And in those normal seasons, teams that are out of it often bring up guys, and that can create some excitement. So they're playing for something because these young guys prospects are trying to impress. But that's not the case this season. These last 20 games for teams that have been flops and gave up as well, at least from an organizational standpoint, they're not bringing people up, and they just want to get this over with as quickly as possible. And Arizona and Texas are the ringleaders as far as that goes. I would strongly recommend staying as far away from those two teams as possible. If you just flat out bet against them every game, you'll probably win money.
Yeah, the under 4.5 runs for Arizona today looks tasty because they did struggle. And Cueto's capable of throwing 6 or 7 solid innings. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, you take a look at the lineups here. Arizona's got about 4 to 5 bench warmers coming in to start this game. The San Francisco Giants haven't released their lineup, at least according to the site that I'm on right now. So if San Francisco does have somewhat their regular lineup, let's just say the Yastrzemski plays. He's the main bat in that lineup. I may be on San Francisco here. Last 5 times Cueto has faced Arizona, game scores 67, 42, 60, 84, 67. He likes playing this lineup in Arizona. As Dave pointed out, Arizona is a team not giving a lot of effort right now. They've lost 8 out of their last 10 games, and San Francisco is one of those teams that continues to surprise. Line's a little bit short here as long as we can get the regular lineup or close to it with the Giants here.
Tony?
I pass on. I mean, Dave's right. It's not exactly like September. These owners and managers and general managers are avoiding service time for certain players, so they save money, and I don't blame them, man. I'll say it again. Everything's different now. I passed on this game.
Astros and Angels, Valdez and Barria. Barria's got decent stats here. 98th percentile in hard hit rate and 91st percentile in xERA, but his swinging strike rate is only 8.9%. Valdez is a lefty against the Angels who can't hit lefties, Dave.
Well, I mean, the Angels, how do you read them coming out of yesterday? I mean, that was a great day for them yesterday. They come back in both games.
Yep.
I don't know. I would wait for the lineups here, by the way. This is coming out of double headers. I don't know who's playing today for the Angels. I mean, it's conceivable. You could see a day where Trout gets a day off or something like that. I would hold off any assessment of this game until I see that. Valdez has been quite good, but the Astros, it wasn't a good day for him yesterday. And I don't know that I would want to lay a price with him here.
Tony?
Here's what I said yesterday in my wraps is I believe that the first road trip, the Angels were bad, you guys, when Dave's talked about how they were bad their first road trip. And so things are a little different, the road trips this year, as opposed to what they've been for the Angels, for every Major League Baseball team. I thought they would do better. I thought they would react better. I thought they would handle the road better. They didn't yesterday. I passed.
Brian?
Valdez, 4 starts in his career, 3 years. Against the Angels, 59, 59, 67, 58. League average 50. He's been very good. Problem is, as Dave pointed out, there's no lineup here. In fact, there's no lineup on any of these 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific starts. So it's tough to make a case on Sunday when you don't know who's going to be in the lineup. So I'm not going to have much of a feeling on any of these games because I don't know who's playing.
Especially coming off the doubleheader, as Dave mentioned. Maybe look at the over for Valdez strikeout props. He's had a bunch of them against the Angels. Rangers and Mariners, Lyles and
I
Dunn.
wanted to say something, by the way.
Sure.
On the Angels. Somebody got into Justin Upton's ear. I absolutely trashed him the other night because he had 2 instances where he basically didn't go after balls. One was a foul ball, and the other one was a fair ball that he just kind of loafed after, and it turned into 2 runs for the Astros. I'm not saying he could have made the catch, but you have to go for it. He's played his best baseball of the season the last 2 days. He made a great base running play yesterday really fantastic, tagging up on a fly ball to right field and getting from first to second in the 7th inning and came across with the winning run. I don't know if it was Pujols, because I know Pujols is still the big clubhouse guy there. Somebody got into his ear and let him have it after that incident on Wednesday that the Angels broadcasters kind of ignored. And he's played really well the last couple of days. So good for them. That's a good sign for the Angels.
Rangers and Mariners, Lyles and Dunn. Lyles has a 42.1% hard hit rate this season, Dave.
He's an absolute horror show. And you got one team looks like they're trying and one team looks like they don't care. I'll take the team that's trying, and that's Seattle.
Dunn's kind of fascinating, Brian, because you look at Dunn's fastball and slider, they've got very good numbers. His curveball and changeup are getting demolished. So do we see him try and phase these other pitches out? How do you like what you've seen from Dunn so far?
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know if it was the last game or the game before that. I had used Dunn. I thought he wasn't getting nearly the credit that he deserved. Then he comes up his last two starts, 75 and 72 game scores. The only positive for Texas is the road team in this series has won 7 of 8, if you make anything out of that. But, you got a Texas team who is 4-15 on the road playing against a Seattle team that continues to take money every day and takes money and it wins. So the public's going to be on Seattle here. So if you're out there and you're waiting to put in your bets later on, chances are you're going to end up paying a little bit more than what you're paying now. But then again, as I mentioned, the lineups aren't out yet, so you want to make sure you get your best players out there. But yeah, it's Seattle or nothing for me in this one.
Tony,
if you happen to glance this game and you like Dunn for whatever reason that might be, maybe you don't like a strikeout rate. Even in the minors, it was minimal. He's a guy who pitches and depends on soft contact or not barreling up that bat with the ball. If you like that, then I would be under 9.5. Other than that, I really don't have a lot of confidence in either one of these pitchers or lineups. So
Sunday Night Baseball actually is the Rockies and the Dodgers at 10:10 tonight Eastern Time. Castellani and Urias. Castellani came out of the bullpen through 2 solid innings against the Giants, but that followed a bunch of rough outings. So we'll start with you, Tony.
Castellani, we've talked to him. He pitched pretty well for me one time when he first came up. He's had some injuries. He changed his arm angle. He was successful. Dave said it, I think, a week or two, a couple shows ago. He basically said, listen, they're going to catch up this kid, and that's inevitable. When you don't have good stuff, major league people, immediately bats will catch up with you. It's just the Dodgers somehow, some way or nothing, but I'm $3. $3, guys. I'm not doing it.
Dave?
Dodgers runs line.
Is this a 2.5 type run line, you think, or just stick with the 1.5?
If you've just been playing Dodgers runs line,
yeah,
you're way ahead. So you just keep doing it.
Brian?
Colorado's 8-3 against lefties, but when you take another look, their WRC plus is 93, which is 7% lower than league average. I don't understand. Here's my rant. Here's my Dave Coken rant for the day. If you don't have any fans in the stadium, can't you fade out this Colorado and Dodgers game and put a game that actually should be a good game out there? If there's nobody in the stands, all it is the players just come into the stadium a little bit later. I don't understand. If you've got your big game of the week on Sunday Night Baseball, it can't be a game in which 2 teams are fighting for the playoffs.
But that wasn't as charged as Dave usually has. That
I can't get Dave's fire.
All right, before we go, let's do DFS real quick. We skip Dave because he's on strike still. Tony, any pitchers or hitters you're looking at today?
I'll tell you what I would do. I pick out the cheapest White Sox player you have faith in against Matt Harvey, and that would be my bat. And I don't know what the price is on Keuchel, but I'm with Dave on this. A ground ball pitcher, wind's blowing out heavily. You're gonna get a win at least. I don't know how many strikeouts you're gonna get, but White Sox bats and White Sox pitcher.
Brian?
I would take some bats in the Toronto-Boston series. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game, obviously 11.5. So you're probably not going to – it depends on what kind of game you play. If you're in with a lot of people, you don't want to be on the same side as they are. So if you're playing the White Sox, Kansas City, over or whatever, you're probably going to get some good numbers. Everybody else is going to get those same numbers. Same with St. Louis, Chicago. From a pitching standpoint, nobody's going to give any faith in Cueto, but Cueto's a veteran pitcher against a team, as David pointed out. It's got a lot of bench players in there, and I think Cueto will pitch a good game against Arizona.
I'm going to go with TJ Antone for the Reds. Hope he goes 5 innings, gets the win, gets some strikeouts. And I'm going to load up. I'm going to go Paul Goldschmidt because the wind's blowing out. I think he's got good career numbers against Leicester. And I'll go Whit Merrifield. He's got good numbers against Keuchel. He can get into one with that wind blowing out. Dave, we got about a minute here. Do you want to answer the question, the guy who said he was a first-timer trying to set lines? Any tips you have for somebody trying to set their own lines?
Yeah, you got to power rate every player. That's it. You got to power rate every player, and then and then check the lineups, and that's how you get your line.
Brian, anything to add there?
Yeah, the reason why I use WRC Plus in a lot of the things I talk about, I took a 3-year average, and that's what I came into the season on. Now that we're far enough in this season where I can use this year's numbers, that way you know who's good against lefties, who's good against righties. You're making the moves that should be made by the manager. And a lot of times, being a Cleveland Indians fan, Terry Francona just plays whatever he thinks is going to work out. And it's not always a good situation by bringing in righties that can't hit lefties when they're playing a lefty, that kind of thing. So break it all down like Dave pointed out and do it lefty righty.
If you want a guide to how to power rate every player, you go to baseball, Fangraphs, and use the WAR. It's a simple way of doing it, and it's not bad.
Tony, anything to add to close out?
No close out. Let's everybody enjoy what's left of Labor Day weekend. I'm going to do some work and have a cold one.
Don't forget, final day, 30-day all-access, favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for just $199. Regular price is $349, less than $7 per day. Go to Wager Talk, find Tony, Brian, and Dave's picks for today. I'm on sportsmemo.com, and we will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Even though it is a Labor Day, there is baseball to discuss, so we will be back tomorrow here on the YouTube Wager Talk TV channel. Have a great day.